I said to him, my plan over the next few days was to make it to the Corn Islands on the east coast, which is the Caribbean side. So I said to him, do you think it'd be possible for me to start making my way there today? And he just looked at me and he went, I don't know. So I thought, oh God, what am I going to do here? So in the end, he called a friend of his, and his friend said, yeah, he thinks there is a bus, but not sure where from. So I decided to walk out onto the road and make my way down to the main road with both of my backpacks on, bearing in mind it's getting to about 4:15 now. And I just spoke to some random taxi driver that didn't speak any English, and I just told him that I needed the bus to Bluefields, which is the stop you get to on the east coast of Nicaragua before you make your way over on the boat to the Corn Islands. So the guy sort of nodded his head and he said he's going to take me there, and it's quite a long taxi drive to the bus terminal because we ended up picking up so many people on the way, and I was a bit worried that I was going to miss the bus. And we got there for about 5 p.m. in the evening, and it was just getting dark, and at the bus terminal I was the only tourist there, and I managed to find the ticket booth for Bluefields, the place where I was going. So I bought my ticket and I said, do I have time for food? And in all honesty, there wasn't even enough time for me to get any food, so I just had to put up with a drink that I had in my bag already, the lukewarm bottle of water. And yeah, off we went. So I got on this chicken bus, which was so cramped and tight on there and horrible, and the seats were like wooden seats almost, and they weren't comfy. And I didn't realise this trip was between 7 to 8 hours all the way to Bluefields, and it was a very uncomfortable trip, and it didn't help that my neck was gone stiff. My neck had gone stiff over the last few days because I'd pulled it or I'd done something to my back and my neck. So I'm laying on this chicken bus for almost 8 hours, and yeah, it wasn't great at all for my neck, and I just felt like shit in all honesty. We made a couple of stops where I did get some food, and I sort of met this Spanish young lady, or sort of maybe mid-30s, and she didn't speak any English, but she was just being very nice and helpful, and I sort of made a bit of a friend on the bus, I guess. And we obviously made our way to Bluefields, and we arrived in Bluefields at around 1 to 1:30 a.m. in the early morning. So bearing in mind I'm so tired, I booked a hostel on the way on my phone. I booked the only hostel that was on the internet. So I had one night for one room in a random hostel that I didn't know anything about. So I thought, yeah, at least I've got accommodation booked, so I've got somewhere to go for when I get there, so I didn't have to worry about finding anywhere at stupid o'clock in the morning. So we arrived at the terminal, like I say, between 1 and 1:30, and I basically said to this young lady in Spanish, do I need to get a taxi to my hostel? And she said, show me your hostel in Spanish to me. So I got the booking email up, and I showed her the booking, and her face just went, and it just dropped, and her eyes opened, and I was like, this doesn't look good. Then she just looked at me and she said, en serio? And I went, oh God. So then she just got her phone out and she got Google Translate, and she Google Translate from Spanish to English to me, and held her phone up to me, and it said, do not go here, it is so dangerous. So there's me start to panic inside and get worried and think, shit, what am I going to do? Because this is the only hostel that was on the internet. It's silly o'clock in the morning, I'm never going to find somewhere else. What do I do? Where do I go? What do I do in this situation? So I basically said back to her, what do I do? And she just Google Translates on her phone again. Wait with me until my boyfriend arrives. I'm going to get him to take you to the front door of the hostel so you can get in safely. So I'm panicking now, so I just said to her, okay, thank you. So I waited there, and it's now getting to about, I'd say, sort of 20 to 2 in the morning, AM, and no sign of her boyfriend. And then a taxi pulls up. So she goes up to the taxi, and basically she says in Spanish, can you take this young man to his hostel, because it's very dangerous in that area, and I want you to get out and walk him to the front door and stay with him until somebody opens. So she again translates it on Google what she said to him, and I was just like, I'm so thankful to you, thank you so much. And I got in this taxi and I left. So we're in this taxi now. It's a small little tiny car. The guy didn't speak any English at all, and we're driving, and all of the windows are open on this car, and we're driving through Bluefields at sort of 1:45 in the morning now, and there's just random groups of men, young lads and young men, stood outside of houses and shops and restaurants at this time in the morning. I'm like, what are these people doing at this time in the morning? Like, it just seemed a bit eerie to me. So my windows are open, I'm just getting stared at the whole time, and I'm just thinking, this is crazy. So I'm thinking, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be fine. So we're driving and we get there and we pull up outside this alleyway. We need to walk down this alleyway to get to where I'm staying, the hostel. So we pull up outside this dark alleyway, and I see there's a skull and crossbones sprayed on the thing. It's something to do with electricity and voltage, I think. But I just see this skull and crossbones. I'm thinking, this doesn't look good already. So I'm sat in the back of the car, and as soon as we pulled up, as soon as he stopped the engine, I opened my door to get out, and he leant over and he grabbed the door and he slammed it and he put the lock down. And I'm thinking, amigo, todo bien? Like, everything okay? All good? And he looked at me and he just went, and he just locked every single one of the doors, and now he's doing this, saying calm down, shush, calm down. And he's just doing this, and he's just nodding his head, and I was just like, what's going on? And he's just like, momento, and he's just doing this, and I'm just like, what's going on? So I'm looking around, it's just dark and dingy and just not nice, and we're sat in the car, and a few minutes go by, and then he kept pointing in front, and I see in the distance there's just like a flickering street lamp, and I just see people walking across the road in the distance, and I'm just like, this is so weird and this is eerie. And he just kept telling me to shush and be quiet and not do anything. So I'm like, okay. And then maybe five or so minutes in, I see under the market stalls that are there, like the tarpaulins, I see feet walking at the bottom of it, people walking, and it was one girl sort of popped out, and then a massive tall guy pops his head out of the tarpaulin, and he starts walking up past the car, and then the girl, she walks by us, and she just walks on by, and this big dude, as he comes up the side of us, he's walking, and he stops, and he just goes, and he stares in at the window at both of us, and he's just looking at us, and he's staring, and I'm thinking, what is going on here? So now I've just got my finger on the door lock, holding it down. I'm thinking, like, what's this dude's problem? Like, what does he want? And then the guy in front was just looking dead straight, and he wasn't doing anything. And then the guy just left. The guy disappeared. And then the guy in front, he took his silver chain off, and he hid his silver chain. And I'm just like, really? So I go to the guy, like, in serio, and he's like, doing all this, calm down, be quiet, shush. So I'm just thinking, like, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? So then we sat in the car for, I'd say, probably another 5 minutes. And then suddenly the guy's like, vámonos, rápido. So we get out of the car, I took my bags, and we literally jogged down this alleyway. And we come to the end, and we found the hostel. And it had like a gated porch. So I couldn't even knock on the front door. So I'm thinking, what do I do in this situation? So now, because I wanted to be quiet, because I didn't want anyone to come and attack us or rob us, I'm just going, hola, and I'm trying to whisper through for someone to answer the door. Nothing. So then I turn him around and I'm looking to my taxi driver. I'm just going, amigo, and he's going, no say, I don't know. So then every time I turn around, he just took one step back. So I looked back at him, and he had taken a step back and a step back, because he didn't want to be there. And I was going, no, amigo, aquí, like, here, stay here. And he was just like, sí. But then every time I turned around, he just walked back and further. And I'm just thinking, this guy's gonna leave me. I'm gonna be stuck here on my own. So now I'm tapping on the window and I'm saying, hola. Nothing. And then maybe again 5 minutes went by, and this guy's like almost at the start of the alleyway now, because he's made his way back to get back to his car. And then luckily this old lady come and let me in, and I went into the room, and I was the only person in the hostel. I was the only person there. I stayed the night. It was pretty spooky. The lady was so nice. And then in the morning I woke up early. I went and bought a ferry ticket, and again I was sort of the only tourist there at the terminal. and then I made my way across to the Corn Islands.